As the UAE suddenly walks out of the Saudi-led oil club, is the once mighty OPEC Plus cartel now scrambling to hide just how shaky its grip on the wartime market has become? And with the Emiratis gone, can a tiny, carefully advertised output hike really calm a market that is being rocked by tankers dodging missiles and mines in the Strait of Hormuz? When OPEC Plus talks up a modest production increase on paper, does any of it actually matter while a full-blown Hormuz crisis is erasing far bigger volumes in the real world? If the promised boost is just 188,000 barrels a day, who is really supplying the oil that keeps the world running? And can anyone truly replace the barrels lost to war and blockade? Is this symbolic barrel boost announcement simply a face-saving gesture, rolled out even as the actual flow of crude from the Gulf is being ripped apart by conflict? Can OPEC Plus survive losing one of its heaviest hitters, at the very moment the UAE is racing to pump every barrel it can sell outside the cartel's old rules? As the UAE quits OPEC Plus, the remaining members have agreed on only a modest oil output hike that falls far short of offsetting the massive disruptions caused by the blockade around Hormuz. 7 producers have, in principle, signed off on adding roughly 188,000 barrels per day in June 2026, a small tweak to their existing collective quota. The move essentially mirrors April's 206,000 barrel a day rise, but has now been recalculated without counting the UAE's departed share inside the group. Delegates are expected to rubber stamp this business as usual adjustment at an online policy meeting scheduled for May 2nd, signaling that the cartel wants to project calm. Market analysts argue the tweak is largely theater, designed to reassure traders even as real physical flows remain choked by a war-shocked Gulf and insurance-driven rerouting. Crucially, disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz since the US-Israel confrontation with Iran began have taken millions of barrels per day out of normal circulation. Those supply losses dwarf any 188,000 barrel adjustment OPEC Plus is penciling into its paper targets, making the new quota look cosmetic against the scale of the real shock. The UAE's withdrawal formally took effect on May 1st, ending almost 6 decades inside OPEC's tent and marking one of the most significant defections in the group's history. Officials in Abu Dhabi have framed the exit as an economic, not political, decision, saying they simply want the freedom to use their full production capacity. Emirati reporter Mohammed Al-Hamadi echoed that line, arguing the strategy is to lift output, grab market share and keep prices at reasonable levels that still support investment. Before leaving, Abu Dhabi was effectively sitting on roughly 1.5 million barrels per day of spare capacity it could not use because of tight OPEC quotas. That is why, once traffic through Hormuz normalizes, the UAE wants full freedom to pump every barrel it can sell into a tight, structurally reshaped market. The UAE's decision to withdraw was not surprising, though perhaps the timing was. Some may have been caught off guard at this moment, but this decision stems from prior studies, positions, and calculations. This is what led the UAE to take such a step. It has a different vision and feels that its presence in OPEC significantly restricts its economic movement and oil production. Therefore, I believe all OPEC members are aware of the UAE's position. Previous stances may have hinted at the UAE's desire for further expansion, but of course, the OPEC structure is what limits the UAE from increasing its production. Thus, the decision came at this time and in this manner. I believe the timing was significant in its connotations because it came at a point where it did not impact oil prices. This reflects both intelligence and responsibility on the part of the UAE. It was keen to take this step when it would not disrupt oil markets or affect other producers. Of course, we cannot ignore current geopolitical developments in the region. What is happening today, following the US and Israeli war on Iran, followed by Iran's aggression against Gulf states and the shelling of oil fields and refineries, all these factors have affected all Gulf nations regarding oil production, as did the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which disrupted shipping and tankers. The UAE saw this as the most opportune time because, once the Strait of Hormuz reopens, there will undoubtedly be renewed movement and production. However, no matter the level of production, it will not cover the losses incurred over the past 2 months. Hundreds of millions of barrels were disrupted, production dropped, and it affected energy abroad. Therefore, the UAE found that it must now benefit from its long-term investments, worth tens of billions, in oil production and fields. As we know, the UAE loses roughly 1.5 million barrels per day, neither produced nor extracted, due to its commitment to OPEC and OPEC+. Consequently, today's decision will undoubtedly remove this restriction, enabling it to produce the quantities it is capable of, thereby benefiting the state and consumers worldwide. Undoubtedly, the exit of a country with the weight and size of the UAE affects the organization. However, it does not reach a level of critical danger. The UAE produces approximately 13% of OPEC's share, meaning we are still talking about over 77% for the other member states. I believe an organization like OPEC, which is nearly 60 years old, is capable of handling the departure of a member in a way that prevents collapse. Certainly, the UAE's exit is influential as a heavyweight member. But I believe such a scenario has been on the table for a long time. OPEC and its leadership are aware of the UAE's direction and requirements. Therefore, OPEC as an organization will certainly remain through its existing members. Could other members also withdraw as the UAE did? This remains unknown. Most countries have not clarified their positions, while some have confirmed they are staying. Thus, as an organization, it persists, and it is capable of continuing because it serves the goals of its members, who benefit from the organization and its global role. Firstly, the UAE's decision does not look toward praise from Trump or criticism from others. The UAE's decision is a sovereign one. Just as it is sovereign, it is economic and not political, despite how some try to frame it. Everyone knows Trump has a stance against OPEC. For years, he criticized the organization's role and its impact on oil markets. However, the UAE does not view the matter from a political angle as much as an economic one. How it can increase production, maintain global oil availability, and ensure consumers benefit from oil at reasonable prices. These are the primary reasons for the UAE's decision. Today, the UAE feels it has made the right and sound choice at the right time, one that harms no one, but, on the contrary, may benefit various parties. This stems from the UAE's policy and its local national trends, as well as its global responsibility toward the international community and the world economy. The UAE was very clear, and I believe the signals it sent to everyone indicated that it will remain responsible within its framework, even from outside the organization. Its cooperation with oil-producing nations will remain fruitful and ongoing. Those who know the UAE know it is a responsible state, and they trust it. The UAE does not adopt policies that harm any party. Therefore, I believe the communications that took place over the past few days have reassured the UAE's friends regarding its position and future role, that its role will remain complementary to other oil-producing nations. I don't believe this will change much because the world knows the UAE. They have dealt with the UAE and seen its positions across many files. This is likely what reassures the market in general and reassures producers as well.